What is up, fam? Hey, this is PC. Welcome back to the Green Room podcast. We are in late January. It's crazy. Like, time just flies right by. The month's almost over, and then we're in February. And Lord, we know that month goes by fast too, and then it'll be spring break time. And so we're just rocking and rolling along. And I am very excited today to have as our guest Dr. Melissa Saucier. She's the principal, Hancock Middle School, Kiln, Mississippi, about an hour and a half east, I think, of New Orleans, Louisiana. Melissa, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm trying to stay warm. It's a little chilly here.
And I was going to ask you about that. I was on your website and I was looking, and it said that you had a cold weather delay this morning. And so for Southern Mississippi, what exactly is cold weather?
Anything below freezing. 27, I believe, or 29 this morning on the way in. So we had an hour delay. We had some nasty weather yesterday, and they were concerned about black ice. On the coast, we don't know how to drive in the ice and snow. So just to make sure all the buses can pass safely and everybody can get to work safely, we did an hour delay. So we started 1 hour later than we normally do.
Okay, we'll take that, especially on a Monday.
Hey, gave us an extra hour of sleeping from this weekend. So I think the kids and the staff were pretty excited about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about your background in education. And I know that you have an awesome story, but I would love for you to share it with the listeners. What made you want to get into education, and how did you get to this point in your educational career?
Wow, it's been a 20-year journey. I just made 20 years in December. I started halfway through the year, but a really funny story. I did not want to go in education at all. I was an English major. And my plan was to write speeches for politicians. I love to write speeches, not necessarily give them. I don't have the gift of gab like you do. That's impromptu, but I like to write. And so I was going to sit for the LSAT, and Hurricane Katrina came in August of 2005, and that school got blown away. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I was standing in line at a tent to get ice right after Hurricane Katrina, and the assistant superintendent at the time, Mr. Eddie Danzy, was behind me. And he asked me, what are you up to? What are you doing now? And I told him I was just kind of at a place where I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And he said, hey, we need teachers. We've lost a lot that have been displaced because of the hurricane. Why don't you go and teach? And so I was like, don't really want to teach, but I needed a job at the time, and they were desperate for teachers. And so I went and met with the principal, and she said, you can teach whatever you want if you can pass the praxis. And I said, speech, I can pass it in speech. So I did. I took my praxis in speech, and in January of '06, started working full time and taught speech and art and health just to finish out that semester, and then got moved to English because whatever you have those extra 18 hours in, they tack on your teaching certification in the state of Mississippi. And had no idea that everybody was like, you're just a natural. I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but I'm okay. And so I got moved to English for 8th grade the following year and kind of fast tracked to education. And I was a teacher here at the middle school, then transferred to the high school for 3.5 years, I believe it was. And then I went into administration. Mr. Ladner, which is our current superintendent, encouraged me to go the alternate route to get my administrative certification. And so left the district. I kind of had to go to grow, because I went to school here at Hancock for 12 years and started my first teaching job here at the middle school, and now left the district, got some administrative experience and federal programs and professional learning, and here I am 20 years later and teaching where it all began, and I couldn't be happier.
Isn't that cool how that journey just came full circle, and how special I think it is too when you get to teach and work or as an administrator at the place where you went to school and in that district. I just think there's something that's really, really special and really meaningful to that. You also have your doctoral degree. Talk a little bit about that. What was that journey like? What is your doctoral degree in?
So I actually started my doctorate in, I believe it was 2018. And then I was in the middle of it when COVID hit. And so I wasn't quite sure what my topic was going to be just yet, because I was at the point where you're doing your proposals on what you want to do it in. And so it came at a perfect time where I actually wrote my dissertation on the implications of blended learning in K-3 reading and how it affects students in K-3 reading, the blended learning approach. And so, in the state of Mississippi, when COVID hit, the MDE required Mississippi to implement online because we all got, you were being quarantined and they shut schools down for 3 months. And um, it was just kind of a sudden approach. Hey, you've got to teach online. And so we were trying to teach kids how to read. And my own personal daughter was in pre-K. It was the first pre-K class in Pass Christian School District. And trying to teach her how to read virtually was quite a challenge. And so that's what I ended up getting my doctorate in, was in administrative leadership. And I learned so much that helps me now about implementing new programs and sustainability and the rollout process to have just checkpoints where you have a sustainability plan and evaluating, like, what's your return on investment for this? Is it really helping or is it not? Rather than just saying, oh, this is something new and it's innovative, let's do it, it sounds great. And not having buy-in from staff was a challenge because we didn't have a choice, we had to do it.
It's very interesting. And like the timing on that, like, it's just like you said with COVID, and not that we ever want to have COVID ever again or anything like that again, but just the timing and just how perfect that was for your situation, to be learning about that. You mentioned administrative leadership. I would love to hear your perspective, just because I think so much of your leadership abilities. What does leadership mean to you? What makes someone a good leader in your opinion?
Well, I think to be a good leader, you've got to have an open mindset. You've got to be understanding. You have to have relationships with your staff. And so you can't treat others as if you're superior to them. I think it's an equal partnership. It takes a team. And I think having a team of leaders who have different qualities that can all bring wonderful things to the table just makes you a powerful team. And so I'm blessed here at Hancock Middle School. I have two amazing assistant principals who, we all have our own, strengths. But even greater than that, our leadership team and our teachers, like, they all have something contribute that's different. And so we try to learn with and through one another. And I think it's having an open door and allowing input from other people. Like, I'm not going to make every decision that's going to be pleasing to everybody, but I've told everyone, like, hey, if you don't agree or you have a better way of doing it, or um, you're like, hey, can you reconsider this? Absolutely. Come to me and let's sit down and talk. And I think just having that mindset to listen to other people and make adjustments and give grace, that's what it takes.
I love that answer. And I think it's so true because, we can't all be the quarterback, right? Not everybody can, you have to have wide receivers, you have to have running back, you have to have the lineman. Like, it takes everybody working together in those different skill sets. Yeah, I love, love, love that answer there. You've been at Hancock Middle School now. This is your second year as
It
the
is.
principal?
It
Okay,
is.
so let's talk about then your approach. So you're named the principal of Hancock Middle School. How did you decide? And obviously you're familiar with the district and familiar with the school, but how did you decide? How did you come up with the plan of attack of, hey, we're going to focus on these two or three, however many it was, key things when you first started?
Well, I knew I was coming a semester before. So I was actually at the Career Technical Center, finishing out for an open position. They were there just kind of filling a void there. So I had data ahead of time, like a semester ahead of time. And so I was just looking. I sent out a culture survey to the staff before I came, after I was announced that I was going to be here, and was like, tell me some things you love about the middle school. Tell me some things that you want to, keep, that's just some of their tradition, because our district's very tradition rich here. And what are some things like, what's one thing if you wanted to change, what would it be? And so, we looked at different data points. We looked at discipline, we looked at behavior, we looked at attendance with both staff and students. We looked at the culture of the school, the community, what they felt about it. And then we put together a team and said, hey, what's the priority? What do we need to focus on here? And that's kind of our attack. My plan was to come in and not to make many changes, but to be honest with you, we kind of had to rip the Band-Aid off and change some things that were more important than others. I'll say that. So.
And then along those lines, like change is difficult, right? For anybody. Nobody wakes up and is like, man, I can't wait to change something today, right? And especially in the world of education, we have this whatever desire to do what we've always done. And from a teacher's perspective, anytime there's a change in leadership, that can be challenging because some people might have liked the old person, some people didn't like the old person. Like everybody has an opinion. And so, from a staff turnover perspective, what has that looked like on your campus so far?
So last year we did have a very high staff turnover, which is kind of to be expected in your first year. The staff was hired pretty much before I was named as principal. And so that came with challenges. People had to get to know me and trust me and build relationships with me because they didn't really know who I was. However, my history in leadership, I've always been placed at schools um, that needed improvement in some capacity, whether it be culture or academics or whatever it is, kind of through the Renaissance method. Because although I left the district, I stayed in contact with Mr. Ladner and actually brought him in a couple times to help with the Renaissance movement and try to help with building relationships and recognizing and all the things. So this year so far, the only staff member, we've already done letters of intent, and we have 72 certified staff members. And the only staff members that I'm currently losing that I'm aware of right now, contracts go out next week. So I'll know a little bit more then. But they've all signed their letters of intent, other than a couple teachers who are transferring to the high school. And those are transferring, like they had told me right when I got hired, look, you're going to have me 2 years. I'm going to high school because their children are there and they want to kind of follow that. And other than that, I feel confident that we will definitely have probably less than 5% turnover this year, um, which is comforting. It is comforting that they feel like they want to come back. And that's my goal here, is building at a place where not only that kids want to come and that parents want to send their kids, but also that staff want to be here.
It's stability, right? It's stability for you. It's stability for them. It's stability for your kids, to know that, these adults are going to be here next year and the year after throughout my entire middle school experience. And again, I just think that's a testament to your leadership and your system, that you've put in place, and that I know you're continuing to put in place as well. You mentioned briefly there Jostens Renaissance, and that's how we connected, was through Jostens Renaissance and through an event with the Renaissance. Talk about, what does that look like on your campus? What parts, what pieces of Renaissance do you use there at Hancock Middle School?
Have so many things. It's from coming in the door at the school. Every day we just implemented, we kind of do a gradual release of activities throughout the year by grade level as well. And so, like, gosh, I'll start with the summer, when we brought staff in for the first time. The PTO, I got with the PTO and said, hey, can we shut down our local bowling alley and have all of our staff and families come and we meet the teachers and their kids and everybody before school starts, just building the relationships among staff members. So we did that 2 years in a row. And so that was kind of my first, Renaissance event coming here. But Renaissance had started before I even got here. I can go back to, 15 years ago when Mr. Ladner, it was actually greater than that. When I started 20 years ago is when Renaissance really started in the district. And it kind of died off a little bit, but then it's come back. So Renaissance started back here at the middle school the year before I came. There were little pockets and things they were doing with rallies and recognition and, but just not full blown to the capacity we are now. We keep adding things every year. We do staff and student of the month. We do superintendent's breakfast if they get all A's. We're welcoming them with high fives and music and, decorations all over the school. And we do our monthly culture challenges. And, um, you know, there's just so much. I walked outside the other day, had no idea that a little group, one of our clubs, were doing the sidewalk chalk to just tell everybody, it wasn't any kind of event. It was just random. Hey, we're randomly going to tell you we're glad you're here. And so it was nice to walk into that. And so, our staff, we built a culture here where staff, they'll just do random things that you just never know what you're going to show up for. We have gratitude cards. I was looking to see if I had any sitting here on my desk. We write out gratitude cards for staff members. Somebody left this on my desk. It just said, didn't even give a name. But we do these where the staff give it, they write them for one another, and they're all hanging outside everybody's door. And so there's positive office referrals and just really making it a place kids want to come, and we love it. And a lot of things are student led. We've added morning break. Sixth grade today was their first day. I just got text message from a teacher, and eighth graders play trivia as the kids come in once a week. They hang out in the gym. They do line dances or trivia or just have a fun time before school starts. So we give each grade level an opportunity to do things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, creating some positive energy, right? Especially on a Monday morning when you're getting ready to go back. So let's talk then specifically student recognition ideas. And if somebody's listening to this and they haven't dove all the way into Jostens Renaissance yet, what are maybe two or three of your favorite student recognition ideas that you do that you would be like, try this one and this one and this one, and then just get the ball rolling from there?
One of the easy things that we do is a student of the month. And so we tie our student of the month to a character trait of the month. So like this month, it's perseverance. And so, after Christmas, that's when you're starting a new year and kicking off things great. So we send out a Google form, and every staff member can nominate a boy and a girl from each grade level. And so I sent the email out on my morning newsletter, my weekly newsletter for the week. Every single student that gets nominated gets recognized. So like this Friday, I'll do donuts with Dr. Saucier is what I call it. And so I'll order, usually it's about 8 dozen donuts. And if they're nominated, they get a donut and they get told that, hey, you were nominated. They don't get a certificate or anything like that, but the nominees get recognized for a quick little breakfast with me. And then the counselors do this with me because some of them are multiple names, and you see kind of returning members each month. The kids get nominated multiple times, but you pick one boy and one girl for each grade level per month. And so we have a high top table in the cafeteria, cute little sign that says VIP seating. And every day for a month, they get a pass where they get to skip the lunch line in front of everybody, which is big with 300 students per grade level. And they get to sit they could do a different friend or the same friend the whole month. And so they get to sit at a VIP table, skip lunch, eat lunch with their friend at a little special place. But we recognize even the nominees because we feel like, it's a big deal if you're exhibiting that character trait. And the kids they start saying, hey, this is the character trait of the month. They know what it is. It's in the hallway, posted all over. So that's one thing that we do that the kids love. The other thing is we did start, we have our flight crew cards, and that's based on behavior, attendance, and grades. It's kind of a progression. And so each 9 weeks they can qualify for flight crew. And so if you're in flight crew, you get to sit outside and eat lunch. And we have a really nice pavilion outside of our cafeteria. And you get to purchase either popcorn once a month or snowballs during elective classes and get out of class for 20 minutes with your friends. Eat outside. We take a flight crew field trip per term. And it's really increased our attendance, our behavior, and their grades. And so because they want that flight crew card, every single term. So that's two things that's really easy to implement. And I'm more than willing to share, if anybody wants to send me their, email and say, hey, can I have this? Feel free to share that.
Absolutely. Those are awesome. Yeah, the flight crew card. And then I love the VIP seating at lunch, and you can bring a friend. And yeah, what a great incentive for any grade level, really, but especially middle school, right? Like Yeah, that's super cool. You guys also do rallies, and as I was looking on the website, I saw that in February there's a glow rally that's coming up. Talk about, and I was checking my count. I was like, man, I need to check that. I would like to check that thing out. How often do you do rallies? Does everybody get to come, or is it an invite only? Like, what does that look like there?
So that Glow Rally was actually an incentive in December. So December is typically the highest discipline rate when we looked at our discipline data. I don't know what happens in December. They're getting ready to get out for break, but typically that's when discipline increases. So we kicked off a no discipline December. And if you had zero discipline for the month of December, you get to come to a glow rally. And so we black out everything in the gym. We got black lights, we have neon, glow sticks, and lots of fun. And so the kids that had zero discipline, which it significantly decreased this year, it was kind of quiet. They were like, this is kind of eerie. And I said, no, we're going to do this every year now because it worked. But they get to come. It's all, yeah, I mean, I think it was less than half than what we had last year of our discipline for December. So we're excited. We do rallies about once every term. Last time, and we try to theme them, just depending on what's going on throughout the year. And this one is actually going to be where you see my shirt. We're in the spirit of Mardi Gras. So the Friday, the week that we're having that rally is the week we get out. We get a whole week out for Mardi Gras break. It's a big deal down here. So it's a Mardi Gras glow rally. So everything's purple, green, and gold neon. Lots of fun. The kids are hyped. We pass out beads and, play Mardi Gras music, and they just have a good time.
That is fun, and you get a week out of school. Like that's pretty cool too. And that's addition. That doesn't count as like spring break, right? That's an additional
It
break.
does not. Our schedule, we still have 187 days for staff members, 180 for students, but it's almost a week per month, which has been refreshing for not just the students, but the staff as well. So we still have spring break after that.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, talk about just time to refill the tank and just to re-energize. That's pretty awesome. Let's talk about your staff now, Melissa. And again, somebody that's maybe brand new to Renaissance or brand new to a school and they want to make improvements. How about a couple of ideas to help with staff morale and just to build that culture with your adults on campus?
So one of the things we started this year were the gratitude cards, and they do like that. Like I was saying, we try to theme it based on, like, this year is making waves of greatness is our theme for the year, and so we have these cute little cards. We keep them by the sign-in sheet. Um, Most of them have hole punches, and we have little hooks outside. The magnet hooks outside every teacher's door. And so, like this Wednesday, we have early release every Wednesday for the year. And so what we try to do, because I ask teachers to write at least one a week, just to be, one a week is doable. But I do know that it kind of gets lost if you don't remind them. So a lot of times on those Wednesdays, we'll bring these cards, and I'm doing it this Wednesday. Hey, I want, before you leave today, everybody's got to fill out a gratitude card, find one person in the building to say something positive for, and stick it either on the outside of the door in their mail or in their mailbox. And they love it. They get an opportunity to sit with people that they normally wouldn't sit with. Sometimes, when we have our PLCs for whole group, and I try to give those tasks that I ask them to do. I try to give them time to do it rather than just say, "Hey, do this." So when you have everybody doing it at the same time, it's just a little more powerful, and it doesn't get lost in your daily activity. So that's just one thing I started this year, and they seem to enjoy it.
You also have, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I know last year your theme was all about being a rock star, and which speaks directly to my heart. And you had like the platinum albums and the gold albums, and based on how many years of experience they've had. Do you have a different theme for this year? And if like, what is that? And what's the significance there?
We do. Making Waves of Greatness is a district-wide theme. So we all have these really cool wakeboards. And so we have some pass around. So here at the school, we do 3 different staff recognitions. So I haven't given mine out, but I'll show you this one over here. I give out Felicity the Flamingo. And so that is just a principal thing and I try to tie it to perseverance, or whatever the character trait is of the month. And so, for example, I gave one to a staff member. She transferred to us from another school and came down with cancer, found out she had cancer like 2 weeks into the school year. And when she came and told me, she said, I don't want you to tell anybody, which was so hard because I'm like, why wouldn't you want people to pray for you and to know, And she went out on leave, came back, and I didn't even recognize her physically and really socially. She just came back herself and flourished and never complained about what she was going through. Went and alone at that, she didn't even want to tell people. And then she told people once she came back, hey, this is what I had. This is why I was out. But persevered without complaints, is excelling. Um, Her group, she's a co-teacher. I call our special educators co-teachers instead of inclusion teachers. She's with a group of educators that are growing our bottom 25, one specific teacher at a percent of 89% of our LPS students growing. And she's a part of that. So that's Flamingo. We have the pass around, which is the wave maker. Teachers pass it. We don't have anything to do with it. Who is the wave maker? Who is making waves of greatness in alignment with our vision and mission of the school, when they give that out to a different teacher every month. And then we also have Henrietta the Hawk. And so that's all three administrators say, who do we see that is really standing above or going above and beyond the expectations, whether it's being initiating, something new. We've had so many new things this year that teachers are just coming up with, engaging activities outside the classroom, taking them in the hallway and sharing students amongst teachers. And we want to recognize them for the innovative efforts that they're providing. So we do that once a week, the other pass around, and then the principal one. And they love all of it. They always want to know who's getting it. And when we post it on social media, they're so complimentary of one another and saying, congrats, you deserve that.
I love both of those awards. That's cool. And yes, I think I've seen those on social media too. And those are funny with the flamingo and the hawk. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's good stuff. And you talked about doing things outside of the classroom. And my opinion, that's where the magic happens, right? That's where, those little tiny moments and the relationships can really be nourished and sometimes even just established, right? That then translates into the classroom and helps out with the learning process, helps out with the instructional process. Like, all of those things there. Melissa, you're one of those people that you never sit still. And so I would love to hear what's something that you're excited about. Like, what's a project that you're working on? It could be professionally, it could be personally. Like what's something that you're looking forward to?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. This year, my big thing was, I wanted to add something every single year to enhance teaching and learning. And here this year, we started a makerspace classroom. We call it the Flight Lab. And it's all hands-on learning. We have Z-Space computers. I don't know if you're familiar with those, where you can kind of pull an item almost out of a computer. It's 3D hearts, and you can pull a heart, and it's like in front of you in the air. It's the most interesting thing. So we have those in there. We have the green screens. We have VR headsets. They're building, actually this week, they're building roller coasters out of cardboard. Um, and they test them with either cars, like little cars, or um, marbles and things to see if they'll flip upside down or if you'll fall out. Really, really fun. Everything's hands on. And it's like a STEM lab. And that was inspired. I will want to give credit where credit's due. When I was in Pass Christian School District, they had a makerspace class there. And so we went over there to learn what all they did and came back and implemented here. The students had a big fundraiser. And so we use those activity funds to give back to the kids. It cost probably about $35,000 to start this class. It was a new elective this year. And so really excited about that. And then this year, another thing I'm excited about that I hope that we expand on is we started what we call performance PE for our sixth graders. Coach Kyle Glass is our teacher for that and our coach for that. But any student who is in sixth grade who wants to play middle school sports in seventh and eighth, because MHSAA doesn't allow for sixth graders to participate in high school sports. So those kids took a physical in the spring, and they're enrolled in a special PE class called Performance PE to teach them before they even try out proper ways of lifting weights and stretching and speed and an agility training, just to prepare them for middle school sports, because it is so different than our Pee Wee leagues. So that's something new that just started this semester. We didn't have the Performance PE until this time, until January, and the kids are loving it. I watch them walk out and they're sweaty and working out. You know, most of our PE classes, they don't change because they don't really have time. But for the Performance PE, it is required. And they're loving it. They get to go outside when it's warm. They're inside right now in the weight room. But those are two things that we implemented that are new this year. Next year, we have some things more on the academic side for the kind of preparing for more advanced routes in high school. So I don't want to leak that just yet. But we're excited. We're in the planning stages of that for next year, in conjunction with the elementaries and the high school.
I always love talking to you because, as I said a minute ago, you always have something. The wheels are always turning, right? It's never I made it. It's always what's next, and you're so innovative and you're so vision focused, right? And so, yeah, you just keep doing you, man, because you're making a big difference. Let's talk about balance. Last thing I want to ask you about, because obviously you're very passionate about what you do. It takes a lot of time, right? It takes like greatness takes a lot of time. And I know that you also have a beautiful daughter, and obviously, of course, you have a personal life as well. How do you find balance between all the things?
You know, before I didn't. I will say that. And it does take a toll on you. And I think it's maximizing the time that you're here. You know, we we have rolling carts everywhere we go. And so, you know, that's something that we learned, you know, Principal Lamb, I think everybody has seen him on TikTok, and the rolling principle. And I'll say, like, it's just kind of stuck. I can get more done when I'm out and visible, you know, and that's a big thing, is that I take my computer everywhere I go on campus when we're rolling around, so I can check emails while I'm out there and not have to necessarily stay late a lot. Now, we have duties and so forth, but I think it's maximizing the time that you're here, and really, you know, sometimes it requires work after hours, of course, and on weekends. But I think it's setting a boundary too, to say what's important and what's not. And I think you have to set that boundary. So, number one, you don't have burnout. And number two, that you do honor your friends and your family, because I believe that's important. But you also want to support your community and some of their efforts. You know, I watched some of our sixth graders play basketball on the weekend and stay a little bit later to watch some of them play in the Pee Wee leagues. And, you know, it's easy to do in a close knit community, to be able to attend events, you know, of our students. But yeah, I mean, it's really just maximizing the time that you're here, and being present. You know, I've tried to, another thing I've done is, I don't wear an Apple Watch anymore. It's gone. I noticed that, well, it was actually brought to my attention. It wasn't even me that recognized it, but I was always looking at my watch, because I felt like I had to answer every text and every email right then. And it's been so refreshing since I didn't. If it's an emergency, that my phone will ring. And so I've just learned to set that boundary, to be present with who I am at that moment, and not really let other things, you know, become an interruption.
I love that so much, being present, because that's something that I'm working on myself as well. And just, because we can be in the same room together, but if I'm sitting here on my phone the whole time, like, I'm not being present with whoever it is that we're spending time with, right? And so, just for me, it's just putting my phone down and turning it upside down, and just like being there, even if it's just by myself. Because to your point, like your phone's constantly going off. Somebody always wants your attention, right? Somebody sending a text, somebody sending an email, and I need to do this. And sometimes you just need to take time for yourself, just to watch a ball game or to watch a show or sit in silence, whatever that is for you, right? So I love that so much. I have so much respect for that. Melissa, you're an absolute rock star. I think the absolute world of you. I'm excited to see you. I'll be there on March the 25th, I believe that it is, over at the high school, just right across the way for a student leadership event. And I just can't wait to see you. Thank you for making the time to be on the show. And thank you so much for everything that you do.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me today.